vowing to crack down on White House leaks and threatening to throw those responsible behind bars.
Why do we let them get away with it? They lie, cheat, violate the rules, then cover up.
I'm doing my job every single day. I am not running for president. I am not running for president.
There has always been a section of the left, which I call as the whiny party, the party that doesn't really want to win.
Republican voters are sick and tired of Congress failing to pass the president's agenda. And our next guest is suing the party for fraud.
You don't want to do what you were obligated to do, what you promised to do, give the money back. I'm ready to go to trial tomorrow.
Green Beret Challenge obstacle course is out in the plaza this morning.
Come on, Vito! There we go. I never lost faith.
Look at that. Fox and Friends taking on the Green Beret Challenge, inspired by the U.S. Special Forces. That's Carly and Carl on top of one of the challenges there.
She's on top of the world this morning because she was so nervous about it. And it's hard for, you're physically trained for these things, at least more so than some of us. And so, for women that have, and Clayton, that have to go do these challenges.
That is unfair. Clayton has hidden strength.
I played a lot of these in video games, okay? Yep. Stop picking.
Virtual strength.
No, we've all done these, though, here on Fox and Friends. And it does give
Done like 30 of these things, yeah.
It gives you a whole new appreciation, though, for our men and women that have to be in this physical shape to serve.
And it's the little injuries that you don't think about, like that you get, like Rick, or we've all gone through these, where one time we were electrocuted. They had one where they literally had strings hanging down in water and you would be electrocuted. That was my favorite. And then there was another time when they put you through rocks and then you all ripped up and bloody. That was another one of my favorite. The other one was the ice bath, where it stops your heart. They had the big thing where you jump in the ice bath, and in the middle of it, that might have been a Tough Mudder, and I think we lost a few employees during that day. It was,
that sounds healthy.
It was a rough day.
Yeah. Well, it's a rough morning for you, Clayton. I mean, I've already hit on you once.
Yeah.
Yesterday, you got out of the dunk tank, and we've asked our viewers.
Slithered away from the dunk tank.
Totally slithered away like a snake. So viewers have been writing in about that. We have John here who says, Clayton, bro, you cheated Saturday on the plank for a few seconds before getting up.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was there like this, a blink of an eye. We barely had time to throw 3 balls. And then Carol writes, Clayton needs to get back in the dunk tank ASAP.
I agree.
If you own a dunk tank, drive to 48th and 6th. We'll put it up on the show live right now, and we will put Clayton in it in the 9 o'clock hour.
They had a fence behind it. You couldn't get to it, number one. So I was like, where's the ladder? Yeah. So I went back.
Couldn't get up
I know it looked like an excuse, but I was like trying to get up there. They thought I wasn't going to do it at all, and I did. And then I gave you guys 3 shots. You missed wildly. I think Pete's went over the backstop. It was like a wild thing, wild pitch. And you guys couldn't do it, so you had the opportunity. You were so upset. You were so upset with yourself.
Because I finally hit it that 4th time, and you had moved.
And I ran for the button to hit it. Too bad.
We're going to play that video later on the show, so you know exactly what we're talking about, and just to show you slithering away. But we do have some headlines that we are following, and a pretty serious one this morning. Some breaking news. The U.S. is joining forces with China and Russia by handing down massive economic sanctions against North Korea. This, of course, after the rogue nation conducted several missile tests last month.
These sanctions will cut deep, and in doing so will give the North Korean leadership a taste of the deprivation they have chosen to inflict on the North Korean people. But we should not fool ourselves into thinking we have solved the problem.
And President Trump tweeting this: the United Nations Security Council just voted 15-0 to sanction North Korea. China and Russia voted with us. Very big financial impact. And it is. The sanctions include a ban on exports worth over $1 billion. And now to another Fox News alert. The search for 3 U.S. Marines lost at sea off the coast of Australia has been called off. Officials still hoping to find the bodies of those heroes after the Osprey aircraft they were on crashed yesterday. 23 other Marines were rescued, with 1 taken to the hospital. We still don't know exactly what caused that plane to go down, but we'll let you know if we hear any more on that story. Also, a plea by activists for a ceasefire in Baltimore is broken after just a few hours. Police say 2 people were shot and killed yesterday, breaking an attempt by community members to encourage a 72-hour ceasefire where no one gets killed. Baltimore averages more than 1 murder every single day and on track to break its own homicide record in 2017. Just a horrible situation. And the rumors can be put to rest. Elizabeth Warren says she will not run for president in 2020.
We need to focus on the fights in front of us. I'm doing my job every single day. I am not running for president. I'm doing my work.
All right, well, there you have it. Warren making the announcement at a town hall meeting amid rumors that she's been gearing up to challenge President Trump. Well, we'll see, though.
Everyone says right before they decide to run for president.
Right. Yeah, they all do that. All right, let's bring in former deputy campaign manager for President Trump, president of Citizens United and Fox News contributor David Bossie. David, are you relieved Elizabeth Warren not running?
Man, I think President Trump's probably sleeping a little better tonight.
I'm sure he was very, very worried. But he's sleeping right now in Bedminster, New Jersey, but a lot of focus on what's happening in Washington. On Friday, the Attorney General came out with as strong a wording as we've heard, saying no more leaks. We're cracking down in both inside the administration, the deep state, but also the media. And President Trump tweeted this. He said, after many years of leaks going on in Washington, it's great to see the AG taking action for national security. The tougher, the better. To many on the outside, this looks like a rebound for the Attorney General, focused on things the president is focused on. What is your take?
Well, the Attorney General's taking on something the president cares about. It's something that every American should care about. These leaks that have been going on for the last 6 months are incredibly dangerous. It's insidious, and I think you guys have talked about this many times. It's insidious, the nature of these leaks from the deep state. And that's what this is. The deep state trying to destroy, try to affect an election from November from inside the government. It's people who want to destroy this presidency and will stop at nothing and go and actually enter into criminality in order to try to harm this president. So I look at what these people are doing, and I think the Attorney General is not only right, but must go after these folks as vigorously as possible.
We also saw inside the West Wing this week General John Kelly taking over as White House Chief of Staff, and there was a lot of questions before he took over. Would he be allowed to be the Chief of the Staff? Meaning, would family members still be able to float by him, not use the calendar and all of these things? It looks like, to Abby's point earlier, looks like General Kelly sat down with the president and said, I'll take this job, but here's how I'm going to right this ship. I'm going to take control of this calendar. People are going to sign in. People are going to get to work early, and they're not going to just float into the White House without going through the proper channels.
I will tell you, having visited the White House this week, it is a completely different feel inside the West Wing than it had been previously. You know, I am a fan of General Kelly's leadership and his strength and his determination to get this White House in order. And I think that he, in partnership with the president, is going to do an incredible job. He is a leader of men and women, and this White House is looking to follow him. And I think everything you've seen in this first week is indicative of the great things that are going to come. Just look at North Korea for just a moment. You know, on one hand, we just imposed $1 billion worth of sanctions. Our UN leadership working with the White House, imposing those, getting China and Russia on board. The president has brought together a coalition of countries around the world that has never done this before. And on the other hand, you had Barack Obama sending $1 billion in cash to Iran on his way out the door. So it is a completely different leadership style, and I think General Kelly is going to complement it.
David, the president calls this, the newspaper I'm holding right here, the failing New York Times, because he feels like it doesn't cover him properly. If you look in the left-hand column this morning, there's an article that says, President aside, GOP stars move toward 2020 bids, and it posits that Senators Tom Cotton, Ben Sasse, Governor Kasich are potentially running shadow campaigns. Is this fake news attempting to imperil this president from the New York Times, or are we seeing Republicans that are hedging their bets?
Sure, no. It's completely fake news. Let's be clear. There's only one person really in that article that is somebody who didn't support President Trump to begin with during the campaign, during the primaries, at the convention, or during the general election, and that was John Kasich. And he ended up showing his true colors, and he ended up not mattering because the president won Ohio by, I think, around 9 or 10 points. So it showed his weakness in the state and President Trump's strength, not only in his home state of Ohio, but across the country.
But Ben Sasse has been a never-Trumper, too. And do these guys really think they're going to run against the president?
It's first of all, these types of stories happen when anyone goes to these early primary states, and it happens because Republican Party apparatus are looking to raise money. They need to continue building their operations, so they invite folks. It's a natural, organic thing to happen. Has nothing to do with President Trump. What made the news so fake to me was when they brought up President Trump's his closest colleague in the vice president. That Vice President Pence was doing things. That's the ultimate in fake news, that his greatest partner in this administration. It's a ridiculous story. The New York Times should be ashamed of itself.
Well, the media loves conflict, even if there's not a lot of truth to that. How do you see this playing out?
They try to create it.
They do, but how do you see this playing out come the midterms? Because you have a number of these names that Pete mentioned who have their own races. I mean, they are in Congress in places that President Trump won pretty handedly, and we haven't seen Republicans really step up to give the president the support that most presidents get from their own party. How do you see that playing out when they may need his help to win an election?
I wish that some of these folks would work as hard to get the Republican Party on board to finally repeal and replace Obamacare, and then to pivot and move towards tax cuts, tax reform, a true tax reform, tax simplification, as well as dramatic tax cuts for the American people. Look, the economy is growing. The President of the United States' leadership has added 1 million new jobs in the first 6 months. The economy is growing at 2.6%. Something we haven't seen in a very long time. This economy is ready to go. His regulatory cuts are having deep impact across the board. The businesses, corporations want to see stability. They want to see the coming tax cuts. This is what's going to take the economy to the next level. When the president was talking during the campaign about 2%, 3%, 4% growth, and everybody chuckled to themselves. Oh, the new normal is 0.5% or 1%. That's the new normal that the American people can expect. 2.6% this past quarter. It is a new dawn for this economy if President Trump can get his tax reform policies through. And we must get the Republican Party together. The leadership of the Republican Party either needs to stand with the president and get these bills through Congress, or they need to step aside and let other leaders step up.
I certainly know a lot of grassroots folks feel the same way.
And Nancy Pelosi would be right there ready to do it herself. All right.
Thanks, boss. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Still to come, General John Kelly wrapping up his first week as the President's Chief of Staff. In fact, they call him General around the West Wing. So what grade does General Jack Keane give him on his first week? He joins us next.
And one Democrat is making this guarantee for 2018. Speaker of the House, Maxine Waters.
Please.
Wow.
Please. Please.
All right, well, the new White House Chief of Staff already making his mark. So how did General John Kelly do in his first week on the new job?
That's a great question, Abigail. Well, here to weigh in, retired four-star General Jack Keane. He's the chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and a Fox News military analyst. General, great to see you this morning.
Morning.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Well, we hear the stories, obviously, this week about suddenly there's order and discipline inside the West Wing. Calendar is now under control. How do you think the general is doing in his first week in charge?
Well, you have to be in there to understand that. I mean, even though I was there, you can't make an assessment like that. But I will tell you this is an inspired choice. And he's going to have profound impact, not only on the obvious, the White House, but also the entire cabinet and the Congress. I think this is hands down the toughest job in our government. Because what you got to do with your chief of staff, the number one thing he's doing, the easy thing he's doing is controlling access to a president, and the president's going to play at that himself. The hard thing he does, he has to take the president's agenda, drive that agenda, coordinate that agenda, provide leadership, organization, discipline, and perseverance to get that accomplished. That is tough work, and he needs the entire cabinet at play in at that, and he needs the Congress of the United States in addition to his own staff. This is tough work.
How do you think being a general has prepared him to do this job? As you said, you're wearing so many hats as chief of staff. You look at his resume, a four-star general serving overseas in the war 3 different times. I mean, this is someone who has been through a lot in his life. How do you think that prepared him for right now?
Well, I mean, what senior generals have in common is their stock and trade is leadership. And they've been through a leadership laboratory all their life, from a second lieutenant all the way up to four-star position. So you have a tendency to kind of cull out those who are challenged by those demands. And well, I don't know the intricacies of John Kelly's entire career. He's probably similar to my experience. I mean, I've been a chief of staff 3 times to a principal, and I've had 3 chiefs of staff who worked for me. So he's had similar experiences like that. Obviously, nothing compares to being the chief of staff to the president of the United States and the commander-in-chief, but likely his career has prepared him well for this job.
General, unless you were chief of staff for George Patton in the military, you've probably never been a chief of staff for someone like President Trump, who's outside the box, is able to do his own thing, works asymmetrically. So how does he change his approach? Because not that every general in the military is the same, but as you said, there's a pretty set structure and types that come into those positions. President Trump, very different. Open exchange, wants open flow, he'll tweet at any moment. What tweaks do you think he made to how he approaches things in order to make that relationship work with the president?
Well, I think we put too much emphasis on what General Kelly's got to do with President Trump. First of all, President Trump is going to be himself. That's what got him here, and that's what's going to make him successful. Certainly, they're going to work out a relationship, and Kelly certainly will want to control the number of people who are seeing him and why they're seeing him, what the purpose is, and he doesn't have to sit there every time somebody's talking to the president. He'll never get his own job done, but he certainly needs to know what goes on in there. So he expects loyalty from those people who have access to the president. He'll place demands on people in doing that. He will control access, and the president will give him a sense of what he wants. And after all, he's sitting in the job, and they'll work that out together. But as I said, the most important thing, I don't think, is that. The most important thing is implementing the president's policies, getting them to completion, and that is where his skill set of his years of experience as being a leader, running organizations, persevering, overcoming obstacles over and over again, not letting impediments be the final conclusion, driving it right to the end state. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
All right, General Jack Keane, great to have you on this morning.
Thanks, General. Love your assessment.
Thanks,
Yeah, good talking to you guys.
All right, still ahead, he came face-to-face with 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Love that photo. So what would Dr. James Mitchell do if the White House asked him to help find leakers inside of the White House? We're going to ask him straight ahead.
We'll be fast.
And you know her as Ann Becky from Full House and Fuller House. Now, Lori Loughlin is starring in a brand new series, and she tells us all about it when she joins us next. Guys, this woman never...
Now, welcome back for some news by the numbers. First, 44%. That's how many Republican voters say life is better in the U.S. now than it was 50 years ago. That's according to a Pew Research poll, which also says only 35% of Democrats agree that life is better today than in 1967. All right, next, $500. That's how much a scholarship is worth for students to attend social justice conferences. The grant is issued by Case Western Reserve University to help in an effort to help students develop and be more diverse. All right, well, finally, $307 million. That's how much the Powerball jackpot is worth after nobody won last night's drawing. The next one is on Wednesday, giving you and I and all of us plenty of time to go pick up a ticket.
We all know her as Ann Becky on the classic TV show Full House and its Netflix spin-off Fuller House, which is about to kick off its 3rd season in September. But this month, Lori Loughlin is returning to another role that she's familiar with and 4 brand new installments of Hallmark's Mysteries and Movies series, Garage Sale Mystery. Let's take a little look at this.
And I took a close look at that chair. There was a loose screw on the leg. I don't even know if it could have supported the weight of someone standing on it.
So my airtight, locked up and done suicide is no murder.
Not yet. But can we take a closer look?
Joining us now is actress Lori Loughlin. We're such a fan of you on this show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And you are probably one of the only people, maybe you and Cindy Crawford, that literally looks better the older that you get.
Oh,
what is your secret?
Thank you. Well, I feel like I'm in very good company when you say Cindy Crawford, and who I adore, and I'm actually doing the Meaningful Beauty campaign with her now too, which is exciting. But you know what? I feel really lucky to still be working at my age, honestly, to be honest with you. And I feel very lucky to have landed at Hallmark. They've been really good to me. And this garage sale mystery franchise has really blown up. We did one movie a few years ago, and we just...
Now there are 11 of them.
There are 11, yes. So we have 4 that will be airing every Sunday night on the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel, which is a different, on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, which is a different channel than the Hallmark channel, or Hallmark channel.
What will they be about?
Every movie is standalone, so it'll be a murder in there's always a murder, but you know it's still the same characters, the same cast, myself, my husband, my children, Sarah Strange, who plays my best friend. So you have all these familiar faces, and then every movie it's a different whodunit. They're really fun. It's like a throwback to old TV, like Columbo or Murder, She Wrote, or
and we
shows like
love
that.
murder mysteries.
Yes, and
what does it say about us?
But these are not too scary. That's what I like about these. People always say, I love this franchise because I can watch the movie and I go to sleep at night and I don't have nightmares. It's not graphic. It's just a good old-fashioned whodunit. We try to infuse it with a lot of comedy and a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen any of the garage sale mystery movies, it's not like you have to watch them from the beginning. You can just watch one on Sunday night. The first one airs this Sunday night at 9, and you can just be able to understand all the characters.